Well, hello, everyone, and welcome here to Bedford. Nick Anastas, Eric Coburn with you. It's our FNLNH Lacrosse show presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. We are live from the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford. Big show, as usual, for you. Hunter Drewen of Pinkerton. He's our New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week. He joins us in about 15 minutes or so. Bottom of hour one, Kelly Gordon, new Londonderry head coach. Got the Lancers in the mix on the girls' side. Rob Daziel of Pinkerton will join us as well at about 9:45. Longtime Pinkerton head coach. Londonderry and Pinkerton get together on Tuesday, part of a girls-boys doubleheader that we will cover for you live, of course, here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. Let's start the show with some NCAA boys Division I talk, as we usually do. Eric, seems like business as usual for Bishop Girton, the lone D1 undefeated team, still standing there 2 weeks away, or 2 wins rather away, as we enter the final week of the regular season from running the table, and are widely considered as the favorites heading into the upcoming tournament.
Yeah, we've talked about it kind of all season. BG, I think, is still a clear level away from anyone else in the state, including Pinkerton and Exeter. Pinkerton and Exeter are definitely the clear 2-3s, I think. But as far as competition-wise, BG, I think it's just talent-wise, they're just so deep at all aspects of the field, and that's just tough for some of these teams to compete. And obviously, as you can see, they look like they haven't missed a beat, and they're rounding in a form coming playoff time.
Yeah, 2 big wins this week over Nashua North, 19-0, 21-0, 2 shutout victories, as BG increases their win total and continue to roll right along. You mentioned Exeter and Pinkerton. They met twice this week. Twice Exeter came away with a 2-goal win. They did it at Bill Ball Stadium back on Tuesday. We were there for that broadcast. That was a back-and-forth game. Hunter Drewen, as we mentioned, joining us momentarily. He played well in that game in defeat, but Exeter able to capture it on their home field by a final of 12-10, and then 9-7. They do it again on the road in Derry. Obviously, us here in the media, we've had that matchup, those 2 matchup circles circled for a while. We know now that Exeter seems to be that number 2. They did it in impressive fashion as well. The 12 goals held off a Pinkerton run to get the win. Then more of a defensive approach on the road, but still the same result. What do you make of those 2 matchups this week?
Yeah, I think the results is maybe what most of us expected. I think Exeter's has a little too many upperclassmen. I think they're a little deeper in that respect, a little more seasoned than Pinkerton is. Pinkerton has some
very experienced senior class,
super experienced
with
senior
Exeter,
class, and that matters. The class of 2020 for Pinkerton was really talented and really deep, and they had a couple state championships under their belt, but that class obviously isn't here anymore. So I think they still have kind of young guys. Still, Coach Godrow's first year there. He's got them moving and improving in the right direction, but it's hard when you don't have as much continuity as they did those prior 2 state championship seasons. But if you watch Pinkerton, they've definitely improved as the year has gone along, and they're rounding in a form, kind of going into playoffs. And then Exeter is what we expected, like we just talked about. They have a lot of seniors. They have a lot of experience. Obviously, Clark is super talented. He kind of sets the tone for them, but they have a lot of seniors around them. As well.
They got 2 good goaltenders as well. We talked about Ethan Burnich, the freshman, on this show before. It was Ryan Tapman that we saw on Tuesday, just a sophomore, but held up under fire there as well. So it looks like that's your top kind of 3, so to speak. Londonderry and Bedford, I'm sure, would have something to say about it. The Lancers are 8-3. The Bulldogs are 9-4. And let's just get to it. The brackets, as we know, released a couple of days ago this week by the NCAA. Obviously, still a week to go in the regular season, but due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation, they decided to release them early. They break it down into regions, 4 regions per division. And as the landscape shakes out, 12 teams, open tournament, so everybody gets in. 12 teams in Division I, 21 teams in the tournament in Division II, and 14 in Division III. So right off the bat, you can see the difference between the size of the tournaments. Obviously, 12 a lot different than 21, and no real qualms about the way the D1 bracket ended up turning out. Again, the regions based on geography, and then the seeding within those regions was based on luck of the draw. And that left some folks, I think, a little unhappy, especially in that big 21-team Division II tournament. But nonetheless, I think the way it turned out in Division I, everybody's more or less happy. You have Region 1 with Londonderry getting a bye. Pinkerton will face Salem. The Astros widely expected to handle first-round business there. That would set up that quarterfinal matchup between Londonderry and Pinkerton that we love so much. And by the way, did I mention? I think I did. That we'll be there in Derry on Tuesday to cover that regular season meeting. But what do you make there of what we could potentially see in Region 1 between Londonderry, Pinkerton, and Salem as the underdog?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting because Londonderry and Pinkerton obviously play twice this week, and then Londonderry won't play again until the playoffs, which will be
a week from Monday.
Which will be a week from Monday, which will be Pinkerton again. So for Londonderry, they'll probably play Pinkerton 3 games in a row.
No, excuse me, that is Thursday, June 3rd. So this coming a week from Thursday.
Yep, a week
will be that Pinkerton-Salem matchup.
Yep, but like I said, Londonderry will play Pinkerton probably 3 times in a row. I'd be very surprised if Pinkerton would lose to Salem in that opening round thing. And then so that would be interesting, kind of get a best of 3 series, so to speak, even though obviously that third game loser goes home. And that's whenever...
As a player, how do you approach that? You've just seen the guys twice. Now meeting number 3 coming up here potentially in less than 2 weeks. Is that more difficult or easier as a player to approach?
I guess it kind of depends which side you're on. If, say, one of the teams, if Pinkerton were to go 2-0 against Londonderry in the regular matchup, and then going into that third game, Londonderry, you're kind of thinking hard to beat a team 3 times in a year, and then same thing, hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. It's cliche,
exactly.
But it's true. But then if they split, and go 1-1 both those regular season finales, and then they play each other again in the playoffs, then it's kind of a coin toss. So I guess it all depends on how these next 2 games unfold. But knowing both teams in a rivalry game, I don't think Londonderry or Pinkerton will keep any secrets and save anything for the postseason, so to speak. So,
all right, Region 2 in Division 1, Bedford, the bye, Souhegan, and Concord meet up in the first round. Concord, they've got a handful of convincing wins. Souhegan, as we know, they've got Riley Longhorn over there, and he's about as good as it gets. And Souhegan, seemingly after a slow start, has started to figure it out in Division 1. And they played Bedford tough, just a 1-goal loss back in late April in overtime. So if it's Souhegan and Bedford in that quarterfinal round, that's, again, a rivalry game between 2 bordering towns that have a history throughout Division 1 and 2 against each other.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that game was a little earlier in the year, too, so you haven't seen that team in a month, and a lot can change in a month, and especially a year like this where early season teams they haven't been able to practice as much with each other, and they didn't have the year last year, and so a lot can change in that 1 month. So that'll be a good test, whether it is Concord or Souhegan.
Yeah, Bedford would still be considered the favorite in that one. All right, in Region 3 in Division 1, Exeter, the bye, Merrimack, and Dover squaring off in that first round. Merrimack, a team we've talked about here and there, a growing program. I would expect them to be the favorite over Dover, and then Exeter would be licking their chops, ready to advance in the quarterfinal. And then in D4, Region 4, as we stick with Division 1, South gets the bye. BG will face North in the prelim. Again, all the preliminary games are Thursday, June the 3rd at various times, but we would expect BG to survive Nashua North, a team they beat twice just this week, and face South in that quarterfinal. So the big guns, so to speak, the top 5, so to speak, would be BG, they're in their own region, Exeter, they're in their own region, Bedford, they're in their own region, Londonderry and Pinkerton would have to play in the quarterfinal. But I would say the Division 1 tournament is the most accurate in terms of the reflection on the ground that we've seen of the 3 tournament brackets. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree for sure. BG and Exeter are those top 2 teams, and I think they have a pretty clear and easy path to the Final Four. And then maybe the only gripe you might have is maybe Bedford should be playing either like a Pinkerton or Londonderry, depending on
in that 4 or 5.
In that 4 or 5 game. But besides that, I mean, it's pretty fair. And then, I mean, if you're gonna win a state championship, you're gonna have to play the best team eventually. So you just kind of got to deal with that. Unfortunate that this is kind of the situation because of COVID with the way the bracket formed out. But you just can't make excuses.
You want to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Exactly.
Right?
You can't make excuses. You just got to play the team that's in front of you, and if you're worthy of that state championship, you'll be able to beat whoever it is. So. Well,
I'm going to have you tell that to a few of the D2 teams.
Yes, that bracket's a little different. There are definitely some gripes to be had for sure.
Division II, again, a big open tournament, 21 teams in Division II on the boys' side. We begin with Region 1. Keene, the luck of the draw. The Blackbirds will face the winner of Windham and Hollis Brookline. Wink, wink, we may or may not be there to bring you that one a week from Monday, May the 31st. But Windham, after a winless start, has gotten red hot, Eric, and I wouldn't want to face them if I'm one of the contenders, especially Hollis Brookline having to do so in the preliminary round.
No, definitely not. Like you said, Windham got off to kind of a slow start, but I think their schedule in the beginning of the year was super tough. I mean, they went Portsmouth twice, Winnicott twice, Bedford twice. I mean, those are 3 really talented teams. Right. So, especially early in the year. But they've clearly turned it around. They kind of gone on a streak there. So I definitely wouldn't. I definitely want to play them in that opening round. For
right,
sure.
And then Hollis Brookline's a team that everybody's not quite sure what to make of, right? The Cavs, they took on D3 Campbell to begin the season. A couple of wins there. Campbell fought them hard the second go-around, just a 1-goal loss. Then wins over Pelham back-to-back, blowout fashion, a blowout win over Keene, and that's been it. 5-0, at least according to the NHI AA website. Not quite sure what to make there as they continue to deal with the COVID-19 situation. So we'll see between Windham and Hollis Brookline what happens there in Region 1. Again, the winner will take on Keene in the quarterfinal. On the other side of the wait a minute here. There's an extra round in D2. So all the first round matchups are officially called round 1 matchups. The winners then play on in the preliminary round. Then you have the quarters. Then you have the semis. Then you have the final. So an extra round in Division 2. So round 1 features Windham and Hollis Brookline. The winner will face Keene in the preliminary round. Also in the Region 1 prelims, Alvern and Timberlane get together. The Owls we've covered on this show. Alvern has kind of flown a little bit below the radar. So that's that Region 1, with Keene awaiting the winner of Windham and Hollis Brookline, Alvern and Timberlane battling in the prelims. Region 2, a bye for Manchester West and Manchester Memorial. There's another luck of the draw selection. Conval and Pembroke play on the other side of the prelims. Then in round 1, you have defending champion Derryfield taking on their rival Goffstown. That is a week from Monday at 5 o'clock. So Derryfield, unfortunately for them, after just a one-loss season in the regular season, has to play in the first round despite the 12-1 record. And we'll see how that works out for them. If they do survive, they get Manchester Memorial and Manchester West, that co-op. And they, I think, are just 2 and 3, again, with a truncated schedule. So, I don't know. I would think Derryfield, despite having to play in the first round, would be the favorite there in Region 2 with no serious threat there, I would think. I mean, Pembroke, Conval, we'll see. Goffstown and Manchester Memorial West, just not quite in that same tier, it doesn't seem, in that region as Derryfield.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of those 3 games leading up to get them to the Final Four, I think Derryfield's toughest game would be that opening round against Goffstown.
Yeah.
And then Manchester, I think they'll easily breeze past them. And then whether it's Conval or Pembroke, I think that would be some pretty convincing wins as well right there. So it's interesting how that first round is going to be their toughest of those first 3 that they would have to win to get to the Final Four.
All right, sticking with Division 2, Region 3, Round 1. Again, that's a week from Monday. Hanover and Kennett. Interesting. 2 opposite ends of the state geographically. Winner goes on to face Bow in the prelims. We've seen the Falcons play up and down, really hovering around the 500 mark most of the season. Kingswood is undefeated. They draw the second seed in that Region 3. They will take on Merrimack Valley. So I would suppose Kingswood would widely be considered the favorite there, although Hanover has a strong tradition there surrounding that program as well in Region 3, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Obviously, you said Hanover's had a great history, but I think they've definitely taken a couple of steps back. They might be taking that step in kind of that next direction, but I would kind of look at Kingswood as probably the favorite, I would say, in that region.
Okay, and then final region, Region 4, is loaded. There's 6 teams in Region 4, the only region with 6 teams. Again, as we break down the Division 2 bracket. Round 1, St. Thomas, very good team, taking on Co-Brown at game 6 o'clock a week from Monday. And then the one that has everybody upset on the Seacoast, Portsmouth and Winnicott. Round 3, they played twice this week. We saw Winnicott Thursday night on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, hand Portsmouth, their only loss of the season. They're obviously neighboring towns. They're rival programs. They face each other for the third time coming up in the playoffs with all the cards on the table in that preliminary round. By the way, Oyster River, they have a bye. They will face the winner of St. Thomas and Co-Brown. Spalding is the other team with a bye that gets to wait for the winner of Portsmouth and Winnicott. So what do you make there, Eric, of Region 4, a.k.a. the Seacoast region in Division 2?
Yeah, I mean, Portsmouth and Winnicott, I think, are 2 of the top 4 teams in Division 2, and they play each other in the first round. But what I will say is they'd get Spalding in the next round, which I think would be a pretty convincing win for both Portsmouth or Winnicott if they end up moving on. So, and they did split in the regular season, so I guess it's fair that they play each other like rested. Whereas if, say, Portsmouth or Winnicott got that seed, and then Winnicott or Portsmouth have to play Spalding, and then they have to play the winner of that game on short days rest,
an extra day,
then that would be a big advantage. So I guess that's kind of a spin zone that you can kind of look at it for those teams. They're going to have to play them eventually, and I guess they play them rested. I mean, that should be a Final Four game, but unfortunately with the region, the way they did it, unfortunately the first round game. But if Portsmouth and Winnicott can get past that opening round, then I think they can probably get to that Final Four. Probably see Oyster River in that quarterfinal round, which Oyster River's well coached. They're gritty and they're tough, so that would definitely not be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the path for Portsmouth and Winnicott, once they get out of this first round, games definitely get a little bit easier.
Traffic clears up a little bit.
Yep.
All right, coming up, our New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week, Pinkerton senior Hunter Drewen, is next as we continue to break down the final week of the regular season, the upcoming playoffs. We'll talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament, his decision to go to Colgate, how his brother's doing over at Bryant, all kinds of stuff to get to with Hunter Drewen. That's coming up next here on the FNLNH Lacrosse Show. It's presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today. It's the FNLNH Lacrosse Show. It's presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Nick Anastas, Eric Colburn with you. We've got Kelly Gordon coming up, the Londonderry girls head coach. They've got a big game against their rival, the Pinkerton Astros, coming up on Tuesday, part of a girls-boys doubleheader that we will cover here on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire. After we speak with Coach Gordon, Pinkerton girls head coach and friend of the show, Rob Daziel, will join us as well as we close out hour number one. Hour number two, we'll jump into some NCAA tournament talk. North Carolina, given a shocker yesterday, given a scare, so to speak, in overtime. We'll delve into that coming up as well. But right now, our New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week is on the line with us. That's Pinkerton senior Hunter Drewen. And there he is, live from the bedroom, joining us here on the show. Hunter, good morning, my friend. How are you? We're good.
How are you?
Good. First of all, congratulations on another successful season with Pinkerton. You guys have been consistent all season as usual, racking up W's. A little bit of a setback this week, I suppose, but you played Exeter tough in both of those games. Really could have gone either way. Where is the program right now? Final week of the regular season ahead, and then it's playoff time. How good are you guys feeling over there in Derry heading into the final week of the regular season?
I'd say we feel pretty good. I mean, we have a wicked young team, and not having a season last year. Guys went from being a freshman on JV, and now they have to try to be a leader junior on varsity. So making that jump, like even myself, when I jumped from a sophomore to a senior captain, it definitely took some adjusting, so I didn't expect us to come out hot right out of the gate. But the want to win is there for the team. Like I can speak to at both of our games after we lost to Exeter. Right after the game, a bunch of guys went down to the locker room. We grabbed the bucket of balls. We went up to the field. We all shot together, worked on footwork and speed and stuff. And that was following a loss versus Exeter. And just seeing that grit from the young guys and the want to win, it makes me more confident heading into the playoffs because I know that they're gonna play hard for me and I'll play hard for them. So that's usually the Pinkerton mentality. We usually play hard for each other, and that's why we're able to be successful. So I feel confident going into the postseason.
What was it like the last year dealing with the COVID-19 situation? I'd imagine a lot of the type of stuff you just described, right? Players taking the initiative, going down, practicing on their own, getting some shots up. Were you more or less the ringleader behind the organizational aspect of that, or were you one of many of the upperclassmen leaders over there at Pinkerton?
I'd say the initiative was definitely me and Declan Turner, who's my fellow captain. He took the defense and ran out, and they did ladders and footwork. So it's really just a senior stepping up and realizing that this is really all we have left, and we just got to go out and we need to play hard because every year we may not be the most skilled team in the league, but we're going to work the hardest, and that's why we're able to win. So just that extra work following games like that is what we need. But with COVID, I really just took it as an opportunity to try to develop my game. Like I know my sophomore year, I wasn't really much of a dodger, and my right hand was really weak. So teams didn't really view me as a threat with the ball. So during the quarantine, me and my brother, we really just lifted, worked on speed and footwork, shooting every single day to try to bring our games to another level and use that time to better ourselves.
I know Eric's got a couple of questions about your older brother, Mason. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I wanted to stick with Pinkerton here for a second and ask you about the differences between playing under Coach O'Reilly and Coach Gaudreau. You're one of the few that can make those direct comparisons. Yeah. What has that been like, making that transition from a Hall of Fame coach to now playing for a guy who's got some NCAA head coaching experience?
Both coaches, there's nothing I can say bad about them. I mean, both were amazing. I feel like they both specialize in their own way. and they both have different coaching styles, but both of their coaching styles I've loved, and I wish I could play for them for longer. Coach Gaudreau, even though he's only been my head coach for 1 year, I've been involved with him all four, so I've been able to build a good relationship with him. I know freshman year he was a JV coach, but I was in a class with him, and then he kind of moved up throughout the ranks in the varsity, and now he's a head coach. So it was really a smooth transition. I didn't really just get thrown into a new coach, but both coaches are unbelievable, and in my opinion, both are Hall of Fame coaches.
Hunter, we obviously just mentioned your brother Mason. He had a great freshman year at Bryan. I think he, at one point, led the country in man-up goals. What can you kind of say about your kind of relationship and kind of working together kind of in the off-season and what that relationship's like, both from a competitive standpoint and just like a growth standpoint? Yeah,
he's one of the hardest workers I know. His work ethic is unreal. Even when he got home from college, the first thing he did, we come home, we unpack his stuff, and he's in the weight room lifting. So it wasn't a surprise to me that he was able to do something like that, because I see the behind the scenes. I see him go shoot at the school. I see him how hard he works out in the weight room. So it's nothing new to me because I can see like everything that he does and how hard he works. But having someone like similar to my age be able to push me on and off the field, whether it be in the weight room or he'll be like, get out of bed, let's go shoot balls. I kind of admire his work ethic, and I never really tell him that he's one of my role models and stuff like that, because I don't want his head to get bigger or something like that. But no, he's pushed me way harder than I ever would without him. So I'm very grateful to be able to have someone in my life like that to play alongside, and on the field, obviously playing together since we were little kids. I kind of just know where he wants me to be and know where he wants to shoot from or dodge from. So having that connection kind of gave us an advantage. I'm sure the cameras can attest to that too, just chemistry-wise and know where you want to go. It's just you guys just click.
Yeah. And then obviously the work's paying off if you're going to Colgate. We see you got the shirt on. What can you kind of say about the decision that went into that? Coach Carwick, I think his first year there was 2019. I think they beat Syracuse in the Dome their first year. I know he was at Notre Dame for a little bit. He's a great guy. Yep. I've met him out on that recruiting circuit. What can you kind of say about the decision that went into that?
So I always told myself I want to go to school that is going to challenge me just as hard academically as well as athletically. And there's really not a better balance than Colgate. I mean, really good academic school, and they play the best teams in the country. And just looking at their schedule before I committed there, they got UNC, Syracuse. They play a lot of Ivy League schools. Like, there's not a game that they can take off. And I kind of like that mentality, like every game's going to be a battle. And also the coaching staff. I know Coach Carwick, Coach Cooper, Coach Vossler. They're just great guys. Like, they're like, they would check on me and they wouldn't even ask me about lacrosse. They just check, how you doing? Like, what are you doing today? Like, what are you doing this weekend? And they wouldn't ask me anything about lacrosse, which made me feel like they care about me as a person and not just a player. So building that connection with those guys, and they just, even in the recruiting process, I haven't even seen the campus yet, actually, before I committed there. So
really,
Coach Carwick actually flew a drone through the campus for me. And,
that's awesome.
And he had to learn how to try to fly the drone and stuff like that. And seeing him take time out of his day to fly a drone all throughout the campus and give me a tour of it really showed me that, all right, this is the place I want to be.
Right. Now, Mike Kiley of BG is heading there as well. What's your relationship with him?
I love Mike. So obviously I played Tom Hawks with Mike, and also he's a hockey player as well, so we've seen each other on the ice too, but he's just a phenomenal kid. And just a hell of a lacrosse player too. I know specifically preparing for BG, like he's one of their top guys. He's a threat. He can go both hands, and he can play offense and defense. He's really just an all-around midfield, so being able to play another 4 years with him or another 3 years with him I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Mike Hunter, we appreciate you jumping on with us. Good luck here in the final week of the regular season. Good luck to your team in the postseason as well. We'll have an eye on you guys for sure, and we appreciate the time this morning. Thanks again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see.
And again, Hunter Drewen of Pinkerton. Impressive stuff there. What jumped out at me, Eric, was after that Exeter loss, they take the bus ride back to Derry, and he's got his teammates out there taking shots at 9, 10 o'clock at night following a loss. What'd you make there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it takes. Like we talked about after losses, the only bad losses in the regular season are ones you don't learn from. So they probably took it, like you talked about, they probably think we got another level we got to get to, and if that's what it takes, I mean, they got to do it. And he talks about the urgency he was kind of feeling with him and the other senior captain there. When you look up at the calendar, you go, I got 3 more guaranteed games in my high school lacrosse career. Like that sense of urgency, that's a hell of a motivating factor. And you want to use that urgency. You got to translate that down to the younger guys who might not feel that same sense of urgency, but you have to make them feel the same urgency you feel. And that's kind of what resulted in getting those
Now,
shots.
if we can only have Hunter feel the urgency to make his bed, we'd be really getting somewhere. Although I shouldn't talk.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna throw stones if I live in a glass house.
I would not even
one.
bring a camera into my bedroom. Number
no.
one. All right. When we come back, we've got Kelly Gordon of Londonderry. Big boys girls doubleheader coming up Tuesday against Pinkerton. We'll ask about that rivalry. We'll ask about the upcoming tournament. All with Kelly in just a moment. You're watching the FNLNH Lacrosse Show. It's presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. The New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school, varsity, and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today. Back here on the FNLNH Lacrosse Show. It's presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. We appreciate Hunter Drewen of Pinkerton, our New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week, for jumping on with us. We've got Rob Daziel, the longtime Pinkerton girls head coach, coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But right now, Kelly Gordon of Londonderry, the Lady Lancers, looking good in Division I. A big playoff game coming up next week. They've got a big regular season game, of course, coming up just 2 days from now. Coach Gordon joins us now on the phone. There she is. Hello. Coach. Good. Thanks for jumping on with us. I understand you're a big runner as well as a lacrosse coach, and it looks like you just put in some work out there in the 75-degree or so weather. How you feeling this morning?
I'm a little tired, a little hot, but
I bet.
wanted to get it done early.
Yes, for sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is your first year as the head coach of the program, correct?
That is correct. I started as the JV coach 2 years ago, and then unfortunately we didn't have a season last year, and now I'm the head coach.
And how did that process go about, given the backdrop being the COVID-19 situation, and then next thing you know, you're at the head of the program trying to direct a group of players that haven't seen any live action in nearly 2 years. What's the last 14 or so months like been for you?
It was pretty crazy. So right as we were about to get the season started in 2019 and 2020 year, we had a coach all set up. It was a new coach. Really excited. We were excited to work together, but then all of a sudden our season got shut down. But luckily, we were able to pick back up right in December of this year. And so that coach was running some skills and drills. And then a lot of our girls are field hockey players as well. And I'm also the JV field hockey coach and assistant varsity coach over there. So in terms of keeping in shape, they were doing that already, most of them. And then in about, February of this year, early February and the end of January, Coach Callie got an amazing opportunity to be a assistant coach at SNU. So she took that position, and all of a sudden there was a empty varsity coach spot. And I know the girls had a crazy couple of months, and they've had a lot of inconsistencies over the last 4 years, and I really just wanted to give them some sort of consistency. I wanted them to have a familiar face, and I knew that my number one goal at the end of the day is to look out for their best interests. I've known a lot of these girls for 3 years now. I adore these girls. I love these girls. So I figured I would step in and take on that role as head coach. And I knew I had very limited time. So kind of filling out my staffing positions, because I definitely wanted to make sure that my staff was strong, just because I am a first-year coach, and that comes with its own limitations. And so I brought on a couple of players. I have a JV and assistant JV coach who are also my assistants as well. Both played in college. Taylor Patterson played at St. A's. Gabby Morris played, former Londonderry girl, also played at Assumption. And then my assistant coach, Rob Daziel, had been a coach 3-4 years ago, right before everything. So brought him back with 20 years of coaching. So it fell into place very quickly.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you were smart. You surrounded yourself with a lot of experience that can obviously steer you in the right direction. You can bounce things off of them, etc. So it sounds like you put yourself in a good situation for year number one. Let's talk a little bit about what you've seen from your girls on the field. You've racked up wins. Most recently, you faced Sauhegan, who is year in and year out one of the best teams in Division I, and you stood tall with them. You've got Pinkerton coming up, another rivalry, home and home this week, and then you close out the schedule with Salem. Have the girls met your personal expectations so far? 3/4, 80% or so through the schedule here so far, and how much room do you think they have to grow between now and the end of the postseason, which begins 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, sure. Coming in off of such an awful year and empty season, I told the girls I had a few goals. And the biggest one was to make sure that they have a season and that we can continue to be healthy. And that was kind of my primary focus. And
Sure.
And to work hard and to have fun. And if we do that, those other things, those racking up those wins, those tough competitions, those will all fall into place. And so I really do think the girls have worked super hard, and they've exceeded my expectations and the amount of work and effort they've put in. But after every game, there's always room to grow. And if we were perfect, then you wouldn't need a coaching staff. So there's definitely always room for improvement. I think for us, we have the talent and we have seen it. We just want to be a little bit more consistent. So playing that 50 minutes at that top level has been the goal we've been working on all season. And I think one of the first times they really blew me away was against Exeter, in that first game against Exeter. It was just like a yes moment, like this is what we've been waiting for. And it was really nice to see all that hard work pay off and being able to compete with some top teams.
Coach, obviously you have 2 games with Pinkerton coming up this week. Obviously, as a Londonderry grad myself, I know what a huge rivalry that is. How do you kind of manage the emotions going into that game? And then also, second part to this question, you're in their bracket for the upcoming playoffs. You could potentially see them again. How do you kind of manage the emotions and of playing them twice this week with a rivalry game and then not looking too far ahead, knowing you might see them again very shortly the following week?
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of conversations about that. I think the girls were excited when we talked about we've got 1 week left. We've got 2 games against Pickerton, and they see that more as opportunities to prep if we do get to that next level and we're able to beat Salem. So they see it as like something that they can really learn from, and it's almost like 2 practices before the big show, pending, of course, we were able to get there. And I think that I try not to bring up the rivalry as much. I've learned that the last 3 years, it can get into players' heads, both on the field hockey and lacrosse level. I've seen it happen, but I've also seen when you just kind of just say they're just another team, the girls really respond better to that. And a quote that I've been trying to share with the girls is, don't overestimate your competition and underestimate yourself. And so that quote has really resonated, I think, this week, because it is easy to get wrapped up into that whole rivalry. And so, yeah, Pinkerton's a great team, but so are you guys. And that's kind of the message we've been with.
Good stuff, Coach. Good luck on Tuesday. We'll be out there doing the broadcast live, and look forward to that matchup for sure. We appreciate you coming on as well, taking time out of your busy day, and thanks again for joining us here this morning.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And again, Kelly Gordon of Eric's alma mater, Londonderry High School. He's got those girls playing very well, and looks like they're ready to give Pinkerton all they can handle. Again, our broadcast Tuesday is at Pinkerton, 3 o'clock, part of that girls-boys doubleheader on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire.
Yeah, I liked what she talked about, kind of managing the emotions of it, and talking about kind of providing consistency for the girls. Obviously, the year was obviously terrible with COVID and everything. It's kind of, there's so obviously skill development, and that's super important, but being able to manage the team from a personality standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, and making sure everyone is feeling kind of as confident as possible is as big as what you can do from a skill perspective.
And again, throw in the fact that everything was remote. You can only see players at certain times, certain days. I mean, all the things you just mentioned amplified in terms of the difficulty to try and pull that off. But throw in the fact that she was only the JV coach up until a few months ago, just prior to the season, it seems like she's been able to meet all those challenges at the same time and then produce a winner in Londonderry, which has been remarkable when you look at it that way, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of moving parts, and for her to step up last minute. I mean, February is so close to the start of the season. For her to be able to step in and then be able to provide that stability for the team that's had a lot of instability with a lot of change with COVID and change in the coaching staff, and then have them perform is nothing short of a fantastic job by her.
And one other thing, I guess, that looms large over everything would be the passing of Jacob Nard, one of the senior standouts on the boys' side. That, unfortunately, that tragedy really shook the town of Londonderry, and, of course, really both programs, the boys, obviously, but the girls, I'm sure, had to navigate that situation as well. So all in all, a loaded plate for Kelly Gordon. She has handled it very well in year number 1 at Londonderry. All right, Lancers, Astros Tuesday. We got the Londonderry perspective. We get the Pinkerton side next with head coach Rob Daziel. You are watching the FNLNH Lacrosse Show presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. The New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, summer and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today. Back here on the FNLNH Lacrosse Show, Nick Anastas, Eric Coburn. It's all presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. We are live from the Beals Insurance Studios every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. during the springtime. Coming up, hour number 2, NCAA tournament talk. As the quarterfinal round continues, we'll run down those scores for you. We want to thank Hunter Drewen of Pinkerton, the New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week, for jumping on. Kelly Gordon, first-year Londonderry girls head coach, for joining us as well. Reminder, on Tuesday, a girls-boys doubleheader for you on Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, beginning at 3 o'clock on the girls' side. We welcome in Pinkerton girls head coach and longtime Astro headman Rob Daziel, who joins us now. Coach, welcome back inside the show. We appreciate you pulling over, it looks like, to talk to us for a minute. How are you, Coach?
I'm well. Sorry, I'm calling in from my car. Things didn't work out this morning. I was actually hoping to be on my sailboat by now and calling it from there, which would have been a little better than sitting in the parking lot here.
That would have been spectacular. Our first sailboat appearance for sure, but we'll take it. Coach, thanks for jumping on. Your team used to being in this situation, Coach, just racking up wins. You piled up 3 out of the gate before your first setback came on the road against Bishop Girton. Seems like they've been the only team to give your squad trouble. A lot of double-digit wins I see here. Most recently, a 4-goal victory over Wyndham. Is this group that you have now as good as some of the groups that have reached the championship, that have won the championship for you in the past?
Yeah, I mean, this team reminds me of our team back in 2013. 2012 is when I took over, and we didn't have a lot of returning varsity at all. So it was kind of a year of transition. But then the next year we struggled a little bit and continued to build as the year went on. So, they kind of remind me of that team a little bit. We're coming off, obviously, like everybody, a year without experience. It's almost like having 2 freshman classes come into your program. You don't really know a whole lot about them. And we had maybe 5 or 6 kids that were returning varsity. But even some of those kids, it was their freshman year, so they didn't really play much on varsity. So it's really been just a building process more than the last, I'd say, 8 years. It's really been kind of a tough year that way.
So what have you done, you and your staff, what have you guys done to kind of tackle that challenge? Because it seems like we've gotten various answers from some of the other head coaches we've interviewed on this show, but interesting to see your take on it, because you're right. You're getting basically 2 freshman classes coming in. Even your upperclassmen, a lot of them may not have had varsity experience. So how did you guys handle that portion of the situation?
We really had to simplify things. I'm kind of used to just kind of jumping in, whatever, 8 months goes by, but that first, after tryouts, we jump right into it and just start throwing everything at them. And they've kind of seen it, defensive schemes, offensive schemes. But this year we really had to just start slow. And, we still haven't put everything in, so I'm kind of hoping to kind of get all of our different strategies in place at the end of this, this next week. And then obviously bring a few new things in as we go into the playoffs. But so usually it's just almost like you're starting out just from a conclusion of the year before, but this year it was almost like starting from fresh in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, I guess that would also, kind of present you personally an opportunity to kind of reassess and maybe learn some things as well. You mentioned you've been on the job for the better part of a decade now, but I suppose an old dog can still learn some new tricks. Have you, discovered different ways, different approaches to go about coaching it, given how unusual this last 14 or so months have been?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of pride myself on doing different things every year, and you know, I go to the convention every year. I watch you know, as many college lacrosse games as I can. So we're always trying to learn and refine. But you know, to your point, this year was just a different year, and we just had to, you know, even my practice plans, I just had to just not dumb it down, but slow it down. You know,
Mm,
just not throw so much at the kids. You know, something that I could teach in 10 minutes takes 20 or even multiple sessions because the kids just haven't had the exposure to it. You know, it's not like you're refreshing their memories. You know, when 80% of the kids come back and they kind of know what we're going to do, they can help teach the 20%. But now you got 20% that know, and they got to
right.
try to teach the 80. So it's just sort of taken a lot longer to understand things, and we're still learning. Like we're still refining things. We're you know things we've run for years. You know, there's just little things that make a huge difference, and it takes a while for the kids to understand that.
Coach, what can you kind of say? You mentioned that 20%. What can you kind of say about the class that was sophomores last time out, and then now they're seniors? I believe you lost to BG in the finals in 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong. What can you say about kind of that, those people, if you have any back from that 2019 team, and how they've kind of stepped up this year?
Yeah, yeah. 2019, we lost to BG. You know, they jumped up on us early. We came back. We were ahead by 2, and we lost the game in the last 2 minutes. And
Mm,
we do have a few kids that were on that bench, and a couple of them on the field. You know, and that's a you know they have that memory, so it's good. You know, they know what it feels like to lose in the finals, and nobody likes to lose in the finals, especially when you battle back. You then go ahead, and then you kind of lose it with you know towards the end. So a few of the kids understand that, and then you know some of the kids, if we somehow make it to the finals, some of the kids are going to be wide-eyed and just you know out of their minds. So we're just going to make sure we try to keep everything settled. After next week we got Londonderry twice, and they're playing their best lacrosse, it seems like, towards the end of the year. And then presumably we're going to face them in the I guess it's the quarters. So we got to take it one game at a time and not look ahead at all. It's that time of year you start looking ahead, you get in trouble. So
yeah.
we respect Londonderry as an opponent. They always give us a good game with the rivalries. So we'll take it one game at a time and just sort of keep the kids level set.
Coach, who have been some of the players that you've leaned on from a leadership perspective this season, given, again, the unusual climate, the lack of returning veterans with experience, et cetera? But now that we're near the end of the schedule, who are some of those players who really have emerged as leaders in the locker room?
Yeah, I would say, our senior class has really stepped up this year. We have 3 captains this year out of the 6 seniors, but I'd say I have 6 captains. They all try to contribute. They all try to be a leader on the field. They're all vocal. They'll bring things up in practice. This class, lost last year, so I think they really appreciate what they have this year. Even though we've been playing with masks and dealing with different things, I think they still appreciate what we have. And they have a sense of urgency, right? They lost their senior year or their junior year, and they want to have a good year this year. So they're kind of pulling some of the other kids along. And a lot of it's like the sort of the culture. We almost lost the culture from a standpoint. We work hard. They have high expectations. The kids know I'm a vocal coach or whatever you want to call me. And some of the kids just aren't used to it. So, they're coming either from a sub-varsity team or even we've got a couple kids that were, coming from NHYLA lacrosse, right?
Mm,
That have stepped into the varsity role. And so suddenly they're just feel like they're in a pot of boiling water. And I think the older kids kind of help temper that and say, listen, you're playing for Pinkerton varsity. There's high expectations. You work hard. And, so I think that's helped having 6 seniors. And, like I said, even the kids that aren't captains are stepping up and being leaders. And you really need that on a team.
yeah. Well, good to see, Coach, as you said, the culture seemingly back. I mean, it's been another successful season no matter what ends up happening with your team in the postseason. So good luck on Tuesday. Good luck this week. We'll be there on Tuesday doing the game, and we appreciate you carving out some time for us here this morning.
Yeah, anytime. And, we're looking forward to it. This is the kind of the best time of the year when it comes down to it. And I'm really proud of our team and what they've done so far. And I expect they're going to continue to give really good effort and be positive as we go forward.
Coach Daziel, thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. That's Rob Daziel of Pinkerton, one of the OGs of this show, as you are, my friend, joining us since way back in 2014. Really become one of the pillars in girls high school lacrosse. He's a name that rings bells statewide. And again, there's that perspective from a veteran head coach still kind of learning his way as we navigate this COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the stuff he said was really interesting to kind of hear. Like you said, he's had a lot of success. He's won state championships, and Pinkerton obviously has been a power for a long time. But even all good coaches are always constantly learning. And that was awesome that he pointed that out. That even though obviously he's had a lot of success, that he's still kind of learning and kind of adjusting to the current circumstances.
Yeah. Well, they're as good as anybody. We'll see them, as we mentioned, live on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, part of that girls-boys doubleheader, which begins Tuesday at 3 o'clock. All right, we'll step aside, come back with our final segment, a big day in the world of NCAA lacrosse yesterday. The top seed, North Carolina, Brian Cameron, and North Carolina taken into overtime against Rutgers. We'll preview today's slate of quarterfinal games as well. That's coming up next. You are watching the FNLNH Lacrosse Show. It's presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com. Is your company interested in showcasing your brand to thousands of high school sports fans across New Hampshire? If not, why not? And if so, let's go. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is seeking sponsorship partners. It's the perfect way for your company to get out in front of the moms and dads who make up our community. Help us help you, and we can grow together. If you're interested in partnering with Friday Night Lights New Hampshire, then email us at fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. That's fnlnhmedia@gmail.com. Join our team today. Final segment here of the FNLNH Lacrosse Show, presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Nick Anastas, Eric Coburn. We're live from the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. If you missed the broadcast, do not worry. The archives are up on our YouTube channel. FNLNH Media is the handle. Again, we're on YouTube, FNLNH Media. You can watch any game you want, any show you want, anytime you want. Hit the subscribe button. Do us a favor. Do yourself a favor as well. NCAA Tournament Talk. That's Eric's favorite segment, I'm sure. Quarterfinals were yesterday. Top seed UNC taking on Rutgers at Hofstra Stadium in Hempstead, New York. That was an overtime affair where the top seeds survived the scare. Carolina advances 12-11.
Yeah, that was an amazing game. It was really intense. It was tied at half, and Rutgers came out and jumped out to a couple goal lead in the third, and then it was back and forth. And going into the fourth, and Rutgers actually grabbed the lead. I think it was about 3-4 minutes left, and then Zach Tucci, Bedford, New Hampshire resident, and then former New
Bedford
Hampshire
player,
yeah,
right?
former New Hampshire Tomahawk. He wasn't having a very good day at the faceoff X. I think at the time he was 1 of 5, and the Rutgers guy was actually beating him and the other faceoff guy Tyre, and then they went back to Tucci, and he scored within 5 seconds right off that faceoff, which was huge. Tied it up, and then it ended up going into overtime. UNC got the ball first, and I don't think they didn't score. And then Rutgers, when they were clearing it, they touched it in the box, and they still had a timeout. But then Chris Gray, who's a Tewaaraton finalist for them, was over the midfield line getting back to stop transition and actually dove not once but twice to put the ball on the turf and ended up going out of bounds. So it's tough for Rutgers because you never want to get on a bus with it. As they say, you can't take the timeouts with you. So I think that one's going to sting for a while for them. But UNC took all the adversity that they could have in that game. They still pulled it out, and then Virginia took down Georgetown. That was pretty easy game for them. Georgetown's faceoff guy went down in the first 5 minutes or so, and both from obviously winning actual faceoffs and an emotional perspective that can kind of take the air out of the ball. But UVA's got a lot of pieces back from that 2019 national championship team, so they're going to be tough to take down. But UNC and Virginia have the third matchup this year. They split the regular season, so this one's definitely the biggest one of them all, and that's going to be a great game. That's in East Hartford, so that's going to be nice and local. I'm probably going to head down to those games. It'll be interesting for sure. And then you got Duke Loyola's playing today, and then Maryland Notre Dame. I like Duke in that game, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think against Loyola. Loyola's really.
So the spread was 3.5, right?
Yeah, I think on Twitter the hypothetical spread. I think Duke is favored by about 3.5 or so, but I think Loyola is going to keep that tight. I mean, they thought their season was over about a week and a half ago with that false positive COVID test. They missed the Patriot League final, but they ended up getting in. They ended up beating Denver at their place last year, and now they're playing Duke. And Loyola's scrappy. They're well coached. They have a really good coaching staff, so that's going to be an awesome game. And then Maryland Notre Dame is going to be a great game as well. I mean, I know we were talking earlier about beef with the NCAA bracket,
right?
And
you feel like
teams.
Both these teams were seated lower than you think, and they probably think they should have been.
Yeah, I think Maryland was deserving of the 3. I'm not sure Notre Dame was deserving of the 6, but Maryland's a 3 seed, and they have to play Notre Dame, who's a super talented and tough team, and they have to play them at Notre Dame. So that's a huge advantage for Notre Dame. So Maryland's an undefeated team, got the 3 seed. So Terrapin fans definitely have some beef for sure, and rightfully so. But it's going to be awesome to know that we talked to obviously Brian Cameron on the show last week, and Zach Tucci are going to be going to the Final Four. And what's great about lacrosse is championship weekend's really the pinnacle of the sport, which is different than other sports. Like if you ask any lacrosse player, even who've won a Major League Lacrosse Championship or Premier Lacrosse Championship, every single one of them would say they'd rather have the national championship than I think the pro championship, and that's kind of unique to the lacrosse sport, and it's kind of all eyes are on you, and this kind of the pinnacle of the sport. And to be able to, the goal is to get to that championship weekend, obviously to win the whole thing, but to get those eyes on you. I mean, you watch those games growing up, and I was lucky enough to go to 2 championship weekends, and kind of the atmosphere around it's really unlike anything in the sport. So
inspiring if you're of the age where you're still impressionable, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember going and watching the Final Four when it was at Gillette, and then I got to go play in Gillette twice on championship weekend, and that was just an amazing experience. So I'm super excited for obviously Brian and Tucci to be able to go play in that atmosphere, as I know I'm sure they watched it growing up, and it's just a really good, exciting opportunity, good experience, and I'm excited. Yeah,
it's really become a big part of Memorial Day weekend. Even if you're a casual lacrosse fan, it seems like, okay, Memorial Day's here Monday. Who's on here for the national championship? So I think that they've done it right in terms of kind of organizing, as you said, the crown jewel of the sport, which is that Final Four/championship weekend. The fact that it kind of ushers in summer as well, I think, works well for the sport. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of the college guys come home after that weekend, right? And, may pick up a stick and run with the high school kids, or at least show some support as the high school season moves into the postseason as well. So really the next 2, even 3 weeks are big. in the world of lacrosse for a number of reasons.
Yeah,
right?
I'd honestly say this time of year is the absolute best time of year for lacrosse. Obviously, with the high school championships that are going on, the NHLA playoffs are about to start, and then you got this going on as well. It's definitely the best time of year, and especially after I hate how we have to keep kind of bringing it up in like questions we ask other coaches and stuff, but not having the season last year was so tough, and to be able to get it this year, we're just so much more appreciative of kind of what we have, and just to be able to watch these high level lacrosse, especially college this year. It's not, both the men's and women's side is the highest level, I think, from a talent perspective and a skill perspective that we've probably honestly ever seen. I mean, the Virginia, North Carolina, and then if depending on who wins in the other quarterfinals today, those 4 teams I think could honestly have won the national championship the past 5 years. Like 4 teams could have won.
Really?
That's how.
You think
that's
it's
how
loaded?
That's how loaded it is this year. And these teams with the 5th years coming back because of COVID. It's.
Right.
I mean, I think Duke. I'm not even kidding. I think they might honestly have like 10 grad students. No exaggeration. That's just grad students. There are guys on Duke's roster who were playing in the national semifinal in 2019 who were starters, and they haven't even really played this year. That's how loaded they are. And then North Carolina as well. I mean, their whole first line midfield's all 5th-year guys, and they have a ton of seniors as well. And same thing with Virginia. They have a ton of 5th-year guys. And Maryland, I think Maryland's starting 10, so to speak. The only players who aren't, I think it's like their goalie's not a senior, and then I think maybe one of their top 6 offensive players isn't a senior. So the number of seniors that are out there, and the urgency of not having, like we talk about, like you look at the calendar, you're like, I only have this number of games guaranteed left, and that kind of urgency, it all ties into what's going to be, I think, one of the best Final Four weekends ever going into next week.
You heard it. How's that for some hype? We like it, right? Well, you still got quarterfinal today as well. Two big games there, Maryland, Notre Dame, and then Loyola and Duke. I still wouldn't be surprised if it was Duke and UNC on a collision course. I think that would be a lot of fun for people a week from Monday, but we'll see. All right, what about this week for us here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, as we wind up the regular season in the NHIAA. We talked about it. We'll be there Tuesday in Derry for a boys-girls doubleheader. Girls-boys doubleheader. Girls at 3:30, boys at 5:30. We'll get underway with the first game at about 3:15, 3:20 or so. Again, you can find that live in 1080 HD on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. And then Thursday, we're back in Manchester for a big D2 game, possibly a playoff preview, although that would be way down the line in the semifinals. Winnicott and Derryfield. Cougars, the defending D2 champs. Winnicott coming off a big win back on Thursday. They handed their rival Portsmouth their only loss of the season. So we look forward to that game as well. That's Thursday. It's a 4 o'clock Eastern time start. 3:45 our coverage begins. As we close up the show, Eric, wanted to ask you about that Londonderry-Pinkerton rivalry. It's not too often we get the players' perspective, in your case obviously being a former player. But you were there back in 2013, 14, even as a sophomore in 2012. What does Pinkerton-Londonderry mean in your eyes on the lacrosse field?
Yeah, I mean, it's a super, super intense rivalry. I mean, when you get out on the field, you don't like them and they don't like you, and that's one of the great things about the sport. It really brings out that super competitive edge, and it's heated and it can get intense. For sure. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it unfolds this year. Obviously, they didn't play last year. Pinkerton's definitely owned, at least the lacrosse side of things, it's definitely owned that rivalry for most of the past, I'd say decade or so. I think we beat them. The only time I beat them was 2012. That was my sophomore year, and then
you guys went to the Final Four that year.
We went to the Final Four that year. That was the best team we ever had. We ended up getting the 2 seed that year. That was a really, really talented team we had. And then I think they might have beaten them maybe around 2016, 2017. So it's been a pretty dominant one-sided rivalry from Pinkerton's definitely owned that matchup. But like I said, it's super intense, and they can be tight contested games when you have that extra focus and extra energy to that game. So it'll be a great week, both on the girls' end and the boys' side especially. It's going to be awesome that you're going to be there covering those games on Tuesday, and to be able to watch those is going to be intense. I know fans are more fans are coming out to the games as well, and that always feeds into the rivalry as well. It's not just obviously the matchup on the field, but the atmosphere around the field is what kind of feels into that. When you're when it's Pinkerton week and you're in the hallways, and teachers and your other classmates who might not play a sport, or they know it's Pinkerton week, and I'm sure it's the same for Pinkerton when they play Londonderry. They know it's Londonderry week, and they know it's a rivalry, and you can kind of feel that energy around the game, and that's kind of what you play for.
Yeah, good stuff. As we look forward to it for sure. Tuesday, 3:30. 5:30, the game times. Want to thank Hunter Drewen of Pinkerton. He'll be out there Tuesday night. Our New Hampshire Tomahawks Player of the Week, joining us and doing a great job tonight. We appreciate that. The Colgate commit, one of the best players in the state. First year coach Kelly Gordon on the girls' side for Londonderry. We thank her for taking time out of her busy running schedule this morning. And Coach Daziel, long time Pinkerton head coach, one of the pillars, really, of girls lacrosse in the state. We appreciate hearing from him this morning. Want to thank our director, Ben Beals, the man behind the curtain. Steve Beals, the executive producer, the big man in the big chair down in Florida. For my partner, Eric Coburn, my name is Nick Anastas, saying so long. This has been the FNLNH Lacrosse Show, presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks.